Welcome. This is the recording for Tuesday, September 19th. It's section 105 on reviewing angle basics. All right, so this would have been our warm-up today, so you can pause the recording here and give it a try. See if you could solve for x. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and flip to the next slide. It'll have our answer there we could walk through. So the first thing is, well, again, you can solve an algebra problem in many different ways. What I decided to do first is to combine like terms. Right, so after you combine like terms, 8x plus x is 9x. Bring down the 1, bring down the 10. Now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the 1 by subtracting 1 from both sides. So that leaves 9x on the left, and 10 minus 1 is 9 on the right. And now I want to divide both sides by 9 to get rid of the 9. And so that becomes x on the left-hand side, and 9 divided by 9 is 1, so the answer is 1. So for today, we're learning about angle basics because it's the foundation for geometry lessons in the future. It's going to help us with the construction that we have coming up. On the right-hand side, our success criteria for today is I can identify the parts of an angle, I can name an angle, I can justify an angle as acute, obtuse, or right, I can use a protractor to measure an angle. So we're going to take a look at each of these, and then I'm going to share a link with you to do some practice. So first up, naming an angle and what is an angle. An angle is formed when two rays share a common endpoint. So we have two rays here, they share a common endpoint P. And I name an angle using three letters, one from each leg or ray and the vertex. So I can name this MPA or APM. The vertex always has to be in the center when you're naming an angle. And if there's no other angles in the picture, and there's only one angle that's represented with the vertex P, then you can also call this just angle P. Right, so naming an angle, the vertex or parts of an angle, and just knowing what it is. So let's do one or two quick checks for this. Can you identify the vertex? In this case, I didn't realize I already had it highlighted. So the vertex of this angle is V. All right, so again, the vertex is where the two rays endpoints meet, and in this case, V. Let's try one more. So we want to name this angle. Right, so I can name this angle as just angle I, since there's no other angle that shares that vertex. I can also name it with three letters, but the I has to, or the vertex has to stay in the center. So I can name this JIK, which is one of our answer choices. So that's our answer there. I could also name this KIJ, which is not one of the answer choices, but had it been, that's another way to name the angle. All right, so that's our parts of an angle, what an angle is, naming an angle. Next up are the inside and outside of the angle terms. And so when you have a point on the outside of those two rays, we call that an exterior region on the outside of the rays or the angle. And if there's a point in between those two rays, we say that's on the interior of the angle or inside the angle. Let's do one quick practice for that one. So which point in this image here is in the interior of the angle? All right, and so the interior is going to be inside the angle, and point V is on the inside of the angle. So V is our answer. Right, and so finally the last, well actually there's two more pieces. Here's the first of the two, is being able to classify an angle in 3 ways. So in the center we have a right angle, which is 90 degrees, and we represent that with a box or a square. So if you see that on the inside of an angle, you know that's a right angle or a 90-degree angle. Anything that's smaller than 90 degrees we call acute, so less than 90 degrees. And angles that are larger than 90 degrees we call obtuse. So being able to classify in those 3 ways, let's try one quick practice for that. So what type of angle is this? All right, so this is greater than 90 degrees, and so I would say this is an obtuse angle. Okay, one more piece now, and that is using a protractor to measure our angles. So this is our protractor. It's 180 degrees. It looks like half of a circle. What you want to remember about the protractor is you want to line up the base of one of the rays of your angle to measure. And you want to be careful that you're measuring from the right side. So I could count 0 up to 180 from the left-hand side, and you could look, there's another row of numbers. So I could count 0 all the way up to 180 on the other side. And so you just want to be careful you're starting from the right side depending on which angle you want to measure. So I want to measure this angle right here. So I'm going to start with 0 on the left-hand side and see where that ends up there at 70. So this angle is 70 degrees. If I start on the other side, then I'm measuring this larger angle over here. So if I start on the other side and work my way up, that's a 110-degree angle. So you just want to be careful which side you're starting from. When you measure your angles, it's just going to depend on what angle you want to measure. All right, so let's try 2 of those. This is the first one. So what is the measure of this angle? All right, so I'm going to start from 0 here because I want to measure this angle. And if I start from all the way over here, I'm kind of measuring the outside of the angle or the supplementary angle that we'll learn eventually. So I'm going to start from 0 here, and I look up. It looks like it's at 30 degrees. So this measure angle is 30 degrees. And one more. This time I want to measure this big angle right here. So see if you can measure that one. Someone's cutting my grass, I believe, in the background. Sorry about that. Right, so if I start at 0 and work my way up, it looks like it is about 165. So 165 degrees. All right, and so again, if I flip back up to our success criteria, we want to be able to identify the parts of an angle, to name an angle, classify in those 3 ways, acute, obtuse, or right, and use a protractor to measure. And so in the course, I will post all of this information in addition to this. So this slide here has everything on it that we just went over. It also has 2 extra definitions over here, complementary and supplementary angles, which we will talk about coming up here in the future. I left them on there just in case because they are considered angle basics, but we don't need to focus on those right now. Right? So everything else is there, a definition of an angle, parts of an angle, interior, exterior, and our 3 different types. So again, I will post this in the course. So I have one practice for you. I'm going to share a link with you, but I'd like to show it to you first. Right? I'm going to share a link. I'm going to have to share it in the course. I can't share it through these recordings, but let me show you what it looks like. Right, so you're going to go into Desmos in order to do this. I'll share a link with you. And then once you're in there, you want to scroll down until you get to continue without signing in. So you don't need a Google account or a special login. Just click continue without signing in, and it should pull up the activity. I'm not sure why it's asking me for my name right now, but if it does, you could just put your first name in there. It did not ask me for that the first time around. Okay, let me make the screen a little bit bigger. Sorry about that. I'm trying to click on my screen to make it bigger, but it's not letting me. Okay. Well, I'm not sure why I can't make my screen bigger right now, but you get a glance or a look at a little piece of it. So once you get in there, there's these cards that you can move around, and it looks really jumbled. And so if you want to make it a little bit smaller, what you could do is just go up to the top of your screen and adjust the percentage of zoom or zoom out. So I'm going to just move this over so you could see. I'm going to go up to the top of my screen and I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So it'll make things a little bit easier to see and they're not big and jumbled on the screen. So you're not seeing all of the cards right now because I can't make the video screen bigger. I'm not sure why. But what you want to do is match these. And so let me grab one. It says an angle that is greater than 90 degrees. That's going to be an obtuse angle, which is off of the screen. Let me see. Okay, this one's on the screen, so let's try this one. And so this one says here the common endpoint of the two rays of an angle. That's our vertex. So I'm going to grab that card, and if I want to match it up, I want to put it right over top of it till you see it kind of change color. And then when you let it go, they're connected together. Right? So there should be two pictures for most of these words. So right angle, vertex only has one, but the different types of angles, you should have two. And then something like vertex, interior, exterior has one. But once you think that you have them all matched up, you can check yourself. And so up at the top, if I scooch this over, you can hit the next button. And it's going to say there's a total of 21 cards and you have 2 correct. So if you want to keep trying, you could just go back and keep going, right? So it is not graded. It's just for you to practice. Again, I'm going to put the link up in the course so you can work on it and see how you do with Angle Basics. See if I can pull up our lesson one more time. So that's it. There's one other thing that I'll do with you together when I see you tomorrow. So for this lesson, this is just what you want to be able to do: name or parts of an angle, sort the angles into acute, obtuse, and right, and use a protractor to measure the angles. Again, I'll put this up in the course so you have that information. And your assignment is to please make sure that your first quiz is done. I know I sent out an email, there was an issue with it, so I took out all the due dates, all the end dates. It's going to stay open, but in that case, it will not show you a reminder that it's past due or something like that. So just make sure that you go in and get that first quiz done. And then I opened up the second quiz yesterday, so that's there for you to do. In addition, you could go into the IXL, remember, through ClassLink. And it has all of the skills 101 through 104 that we did in class. And I also added some angle stuff that we just went over. So you could go into IXL at any time and practice all of these skills. If you have any questions or need any help with anything, let me know. Again, I'm going to go post this in the course now, so it should be there when you're ready to take a look at it. And I will see you tomorrow.